What's going on, guys? And my name is Savage Banana, and for the past 11 days, I have been watching the gameplay trailer, the 17-minute gameplay footage, as well as the intel drops over and over in preparation for this video. What I have for you today is the culmination of my effort. Using every bit of visual information we have gotten on Terminus, I have created the very first look at the Terminus map layout by compiling all the gameplay footage that we have received so far. I have worked tirelessly to piece this together and discover all the secrets that we can find in this footage. This is going to be very in-depth, and as such, it's going to be a long video. No joke, I've spent probably about 12 hours in total working on the map layout alone, and that's not counting all the endless viewings of the gameplay. So, with that being said, I would really appreciate it if you dropped a like and comment just to show me that my effort doesn't go unappreciated. But before I put it on screen, I do want to say that this is the very first time that I've ever made something like this in a digital format, so please be understanding, and don't be too harsh about the proportions being off or it not looking very clean or perfect. I really did my absolute best, and I really tried my hardest to make a good visual layout for you guys. Now what you're seeing on screen now is going to be the main island of the Terminus map. Now before you say anything or click off the video, I am aware that the quality of the picture is not going to be as good as it could be, but that's, pretty much because we're, you know, compressing it down and all that for YouTube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include a link in the description for you to go to the website itself where I made this, and you'll be able to take a look at every little detail that I've put in here, and it's going to be a lot better quality than the other stuff. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to move from the starting area at the top of the layout down to the bottom where the Watchtower and Cannon Trap are located. We're going to cover the entirety of the top section, or the above ground area, before we cover any underground areas or spots that are off the main map. Let me quickly just say that you'll notice there are still some question marks and incomplete areas in the layout, and that's because I actually don't know where some of these areas lead to. It's clear that the gameplay trailers purposely did not show us the entirety of the map, which of course is a good thing because that leaves plenty to be discovered and explored, but that just means that there will be more to update whenever the map comes out, and I'll be more than happy to do that if that's something that people show interest in. Just let me know in the comments if you want to see me update it once the map actually comes out. I also want to say that I think this map is really going to be a banger. This layout is making the most of its space, and I think it's going to flow really nicely. I've identified where 6 of the 8 perks are located on the map, and I will show you where they are using proof from the gameplay trailers. But before we get to those perks, let's start with the starting room. Now, funnily enough, this is actually an area that I don't know the full scope of. As usual, there are 2 paths towards Pack-a-Punch, and if I had to guess that this mysterious doorway by the Rampage Inducer loops around to one of those paths, but I can't say for sure where it leads. So let's take a look at what we do know from the starting room. So I've already mentioned we got the Rampage Inducer next to this mysterious area, but if we look in the opposite direction, we can see a wall weapon next to a barrier with no windows, and this is further evidence that Carpenter is no longer returning as a power-up, which I think is a smart move. It's a pretty useless power-up, and especially now that we have the shields power-up as a separate entity, there's really no point for Carpenter. Continuing with this starting room area, we look by the power arrow. We see our first ether power generator, and we'll discuss those a little bit further later, but if you look closely, you can actually see that there's another room across from the power generator. According to Codename Pizza, there are going to be some lockers in here, and you're going to get keys from the Manglers to open them. So I think that's very cool. As you look outside, we get our first look at the gumball machine, and there's also an ammo box there to the right. Now this part is mostly speculation because I'm not entirely sure, but I do think that if you're looking to the left of the gumball, from the perspective of looking out across the whole island, if you look to the left of the gumball machine, there might be a door there to buy, and if that's not a door you can buy, then that does likely confirm that that other mysterious doorway near the Rampage Inducer will loop around, coming down the other side of the island. So let's talk about that ether power generator real quick. So it appears from later in the gameplay footage that you will activate it, and much like Firebase Z, zombies will spawn in and come to attack it and you at the same time. And once you're done, it will completely change the lighting system. The power will be on for that general area. And I do believe that once it activates, it will get rid of those remaining zombies that spawned in. Next to the power box is a door, and I'm actually going to call this the quick revive side. If you're looking at the layout I have provided, this will be the left side of the island that we come down. Anyway, we see a stairway and we get our first in-game world event. And what happens here is a zombie actually kills the Terminus guard once we open this door, and the guard actually drops his weapon. So you'll be able to actually pick up the dead guard's weapon. This is really interesting, and it's going to be a cool thing to make the map feel unique. We also get our first look at Quick Revive, which is why I call this the Quick Revive side or the Quick Revive path. Moving on outside of this door, we get another in-game world event, and if you look closely, we can see that this guard also dropped a weapon. Right after that, we get a nice overview of this area of the map. Now, this area is apparently called the storage area, and I'll show you exactly why in just a second. But we've actually seen a lot of gameplay from this section of the map, and it does seem like this is going to be a good area to train the zombies up. But first, let me break down a few different key details that we see in this area. So right off the bat, you'll see that I have circled a power arrow that points to the left, and it's actually pointing in the direction of the Juggernog building. More on that later. And there's also a wall weapon there, and there's actually quite an abundance of stairs. So right now, this character's perspective, he is at the railing, and right beside him to the left, you'll see from that other picture that he is right by some stairs that will lead downward toward an ammo box. And there are some stairs that lead to this building, and that is the second floor of the Juggernog building. In this picture, the gun is blocking it, but there is a downward slope, not necessarily stairs themselves, but it slopes downward. And actually, there are more stairs right beside that. You'll see where there's like this little L shape that is formed in the center there. That's actually some stairs that lead downward. And right in the very back by that power arrow to the right of that is another set of stairs, and those lead onto a, not really a catwalk per se, but it'll lead to a platform that also enters this building to the right. And keep that building in mind. We're going to touch on that here in just a second. Just so everyone's on the same page here, this is the storage area. I tried to crop it down a little bit so you can get a closer look at it. So you'll notice that there are these double-sided arrows. Those represent stairs. So at the top there, we've got the stairs that are coming down to the ammo box, and in that little courtyard area, there's a wall weapon in the power arrow. I'm just trying to give you a feel for this section of the map. You'll notice that in this like square to the left here, that's the building I was just referencing, and we're going to enter through there here in just a second. So the next scene that we see in this gameplay footage is of the mystery box in the storage area. Now here's how we know that this is the storage area. We actually recently got this picture dropped for us. Then in the gameplay trailer, we see them turn around, and this shows us the same area we were just looking at. But I wanted to bring up this image with the HUD, and we actually know that this is called the storage area because of the mini-map. And I don't know the name of the other location, so I'm going to use pretty, artificial names until we get the official ones. But if you compare my layout with the layout of the mini-map in this particular area, you will see it lines up pretty well. And you can also find another ammo box down here by the stairs, and a gumball machine in that building, and that building is what we're going to take a look at here next. But I also wanted to quickly point out that there's this other mysterious pathway, and I actually don't know what it leads to. If I had to guess, it might branch off to where you can take the raft to other islands, but that's purely speculation. I actually did not even know about this spot until I matched it up with the minimap picture. So for now, it remains a mystery. Now moving into this building real quick, this seems to be a cafeteria of sorts, and we get our first look at the new Arsenal machine. And you'll notice that there's a doorway right next to this Arsenal machine, and this doorway actually leads to the void cannon trap that we see later in the trailer. But instead of going down that path, the gameplay footage cuts to a different building, and it's actually the Juggernog barracks that I mentioned earlier. But before we talk about that, I want to point out that right next to this power area, there's another gumball machine. Getting back to the provided gameplay footage, we watch the player move down some stairs into the Juggernog room, which is apparently the living quarters according to this image. Let's pause here for a second and talk about all the details, because this footage and the image reveal a lot. This shows that there's an armor wall by on that second floor. We couldn't quite see it in the gameplay footage, but we do know that it's there because of this picture. We also see that a second ether power generator is there, and of course Jug is there, and there are several entrances. You do have the stairs in the background there, and we've got the two entrances. One of those, the one to the right, actually has the tentacle trap above it, and we've actually seen this in gameplay and the intel drops. And then to the other side, that's going to be the path that the gameplay footage takes out. I want to quickly point out that this Juggernog barracks actually serves somewhat as a central connecting point between the two paths to Pack Punch. You remember that cafeteria building I covered a few moments ago? Well, you could have followed that path toward the cannon trap, but instead the players in the gameplay footage choose to switch over to the other path, this being the Watchtower path. They do this by entering the Jug building and continuing to the other path, and it leads to this open area that we actually see a lot in the various gameplay videos. With that being said, let's talk about it real quick. So, admittedly, there isn't that much to talk about here. We do get a good look at this area because this is where the Wonder Weapon is showcased, but I also want to point out this building right above the question mark. We know that this building is laid out in this manner because we have seen it on two separate occasions. This first clip is of the Project Janus table, and you can see these stairs. And the other clip is when the player goes down the small set of stairs to pick up the Wonder Weapon from the box. And we know this is the same area as the previous frame I showed because it has the stairs and it has the same bulletin board. The player then takes the Beam Smasher outside to this courtyard area and rounds up zombies and kills them all. So this seems like it could be another good training spot. In this picture, there's also a wall weapon, and if you look closely, you can see Jug through the window there, which confirms that this is in the right place on my layout. But getting back to the 17-minute gameplay footage, the player quickly leads us through this room where we get our first look at the crafting table, and we promptly enter the catwalk where we get our third in-world event in the gameplay footage. What I think is interesting about this is that as far as I can tell, the guard doesn't actually drop a weapon. So not only are these events randomized, but the rewards themselves are also randomized. Pretty cool stuff, and I wonder if this sort of thing is going to play into the speedruns at all. If you look at the right side of the screen, you'll see that there's another catwalk, and this one connects to the Void Cannon trap area, once again showing how these pathways connect. Instead, in the gameplay footage, we go down the stairs, and you'll see that Elemental Pop is located in this Watchtower. Before we follow the gameplay footage further, I want to quickly skip ahead to the footage of the rappel line in this Watchtower. This leads down to a docks area, and you can see there's some stairs in the background that lead to the main map. So if you don't want to rappel back up, you could always just take the stairs, and that would put you right here, right between the two paths to Pack Punch. But the main point of interest in the dock section is a raft that the player can use to go to the various islands. Speaking of, let's quickly talk about the islands and the ship. There's a bunch of islands on the Terminus map, but there's one main point of interest island that was showcased heavily in the gameplay. All the other islands seem to be less important. I do know from this picture that at least one of the mini islands will have the Arsenal machine, but that's about it for the smaller islands as far as I know. There are 4 points of interest that I could spot on this main island. The first one we see is the crafting table located to the right of where they land on shore. The next point of interest is the ammo box, which is around the center of the island. Right across from that on the shore is one of the raft locations. Then at the very end of the island we get a mystery box spawn point. Moving on to the ship, the first thing we notice in the gameplay footage is that there is a giant hole in the side of the ship that we can access. I don't have any concept of the layout inside the ship, only the top deck. According to Codename Pizza, you can avoid the Kraken by escaping to this damaged area if for some reason you can't make it back to the back of the ship like the players in the gameplay do. So on the ship we are greeted with a wall weapon on the left and a mystery box spawn point on the right. And there's also an armor wall by up top. I'm not exactly sure how to get to this, but Codename Pizza said that the Wonder Fizz machine is actually at the front of the boat. Getting back to the gameplay footage, we follow it down the stairs and we'll pass an ammo box and wall by. We head right for this tunnel area that we blow up with C4. Now I'm actually going to stop here and I'm not going to cover this tunnel area just yet. I'm going to cover the remainder of the above ground terminus area. So let's actually move right back to the void cannon trap area. We've already discussed that the cafeteria building leads to the void cannon area, but did you realize that the storage area courtyard appeared to connect to it as well? Once again, I just want to point out that this map appears to flow very well. So here's an overview for my layout on how this works. Now right beside the void cannon trap is this little control panel area, and I believe this is actually where we activate the trap. And on this control panel side, we also have that catwalk that we saw earlier, and it connects to the Watchtower that has elemental pop. But if you don't go down that way, you can go the opposite way, and it will go down this curved slope, and this is actually where Deadshot Daiquiri is located. I must admit that I'm a little proud of myself for finding this one. It took me a while. Once we had all those pictures of the Perca-Colas drop, I looked all around the gameplay footage, the intel drops, all that stuff, and then I finally found it, and it was really rewarding to find. So yeah, that we can add that to the collection, and you'll see it here on my map layout. Now that we've covered all the above ground sections that I'm aware of, we're going to return to the tunnels area where we last saw our characters. So they blow up this hole in the wall, and we immediately enter this minecart tunnel area, and you'll notice that PhD floppers to the left and to the right is a gumball machine. This area appears to split off into two paths, but they both connect back to the same destination, which is the Pack-a-Punch room, and you can tell that they both split off and connect right back because of the minecart tracks on the ground. And just real quick, there's also a power arrow and a wall weapon here as well. Before we talk about the Pack-a-Punch room, we're actually going to skip way ahead in the gameplay, and we're going to talk about this other underground area. We only see this area once in the entire 17-minute gameplay footage, but I have attempted to map out this area as well. And what you're looking at is my guess of how it looks. Now there could be more to it, but again, we only see this area for a short amount of time, and we don't see a lot of it. But what we do know is that there's a power arrow pointing you into the Pack-a-Punch area, and there is a tentacle trap here as well. And now this is a theory and purely speculation, but I do think that Speed Cola could be in this underground area. We just couldn't see it in this particular gameplay. To understand my theory, we first have to look at the perks that we've already identified. So let's recap a bit, shall we? We've got Quick Revive by the spawn. That's fairly normal. We have Juggernog right in the center. We have Deadshot Daiquiri at the very end of the Void Cannon side. And we have Elemental Pop at the very end of the Watchtower side. Now so far we've got one at the beginning, one at the center, and two at the end of each path. Now we know from the gameplay footage that as soon as you get into the underground area on the Watchtower side, there's PhD Flopper. So if this is a pattern, then that should mean that there's another perk immediately in the underground area under the Void Cannon side. Holy shit, guys, this is Savage Banana coming to you from the future to say that I was right about Speed Cola. Now, I have definitive proof, but first let me take you through the journey of how I discovered that I did indeed cook with this one. So take a look at this picture from one of the intel drops. After zooming in, I concluded that this footage is of the same underground area that we were just talking about. But then I looked at that mini-map. And to me, that looks like a perk icon in there. And even though it's grainy, bad quality when you zoom in like that, this area to the right looks like it could be some sort of perk machine. Then I downloaded the picture of Speed Cola that was uploaded in the blog post, and as you can see, the area around the machine looks like it could definitely fit this underground environment. So while recording gameplay of this area for this video, I finally found the smoking gun evidence, and here it is. Did you see it? Blink and you'll miss it. Let's look again. Well, there you have it, guys. That is Speed Cola in this underground area, right under the Void Trap. I'm really glad that I found this, and I can't believe it actually took me so long to conclusively find evidence for it being under here. I had theorized about it for a while, but this means that we know where 7 of the 8 perks are on day 1, or before day 1 rather, I guess. So the only one that remains a mystery is Stamina Up. We do have a picture of Stamina Up, I'm just not entirely sure where this is. I do have some speculation on where it could be, but for now we're going to move into the Pack-a-Punch area. So let's talk about that Pack-a-Punch area. Now, here is my layout. Now, hold on, I know this picture looks quite incomplete, but this is the water and floor, the first floor level. While I don't consider the first floor the main floor, I do want to start here. You'll also notice that I have color-coded different areas to map them up with their continuations in the other layout. This is a layout of the Pack-a-Punch room and it's pretty straightforward. Basically a giant hexagon with verticality, and there's a connecting central hub that has three bridges. Both ends of the first floor have stairs leading up to the second floor. It also has the bridge going upward toward that central hub. Now, directly across from this bridge is Melee Macchiato, the new perk. Here's another angle. I really didn't see much else down here. There is a raft location and a mysterious doorway adjacent to Melee Macchiato. I'm not sure if you can actually enter this or if it's for design. But in this section of the first floor, I also included what we can surmise is from the raft ride and the path that it takes to the ship. There's another path to the left that we don't take, so we don't really know what's that direction, but I do think that it takes us towards the Watchtower dock that I talked about earlier. But that's speculation. I could definitely be wrong about that. Let's move on to what I believe is technically the second floor. I mentioned that the layout of this room contains a central hub that connects three separate ways with bridges. While one bridge goes downward to Melee Macchiato on the first floor, the two other bridges are pathways that stay on the second floor. So using the gameplay footage, we're going to start analyzing this floor from the perspective of when you enter from the minecart area. As a reminder, this is the pathway that comes from the Watchtower and PhD flopper. When you come through this door, the first thing you'll see is an arsenal machine right next to one of these center pathways. Now, to the right of this arsenal machine, you will see the path split off into two sets of stairs, one going up and one going down. This is where the color coding comes into play. Looking back at my layout, you'll see where it connects. If we go left instead of right, we'll seemingly hit a dead end, except this isn't the case because this is where Pack-a-Punch comes in. First, let's speculate about how we activate Pack-a-Punch. It seems to me that it's as simple as activating every ether power generator and then diving underwater to access the platform's control panel. Then the platform will rise out of the water, connecting the second floor path. Crossing the Pack-a-Punch platform will bring us over to the second bridge, as well as another door, and this is the door that leads to that underground area that has the tentacle trap and, as we now know, has speed cola. Looking at my layout of Terminus, if it's roughly accurate, this will give me reason to believe that I am correct in assuming that this is the area under the void cannon. Now, passing this doorway brings us to another pair of stairs, two going in opposite directions. Now, both sides of the second floor have the stairs that lead up and down, and we've already covered the first floor, so let's talk about the third floor. On one side with the door that leads us to the void cannon trap, the stairs lead to a crafting table. Continuing forward is an armor wall by. Now, given the way the gameplay footage plays out, I have to switch to the other stairs on the opposite side of the third floor, and about midway through we find ourselves at yet another set of stairs, but I honestly don't know what's in this area, so I don't have it in my layout. It's possible that this is where the room with stamina up leads, or it leads us to the room with stamina up, but I'm not confident enough in this prediction to put it in my layout. So on the stairs side, we also have this wall weapon here. And last but not least, there's this bizarre machine. I don't know, it kind of looks like an elevator, but I don't think that's what it is. And I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but in the gameplay footage we're provided, we actually see two beams of light in the sky. So the mystery box and some other mysterious light, and I think this might be the source of it. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. Let me know what you guys think this is. There's actually one last above ground area that I want to show you, and this I actually think, as far as I can tell, I am the only one to have pointed out. Remember how I said that the two paths to Pack-a-Punch are connected through the Juggernog barracks? There's actually one more section that connects both sides, and this is actually the Pack-a-Punch platform itself. You'll notice that there are tracks that pull it up out of the water to connect to the underground platform, but those tracks also continue upwards, and they lead right here. So this picture is from the storage area section of the map, and it shows a green panel, a panel with a green button.
So I'm assuming that you could call the Pack-a-Punch up above ground, and this will connect both sides of the map as well, just as it connects the two sections of the underground area.
And there you have it, guys. This is the Terminus layout to the best of my ability. If you know of anything that I missed that I should add to the map that we have definitive proof of, do let me know and I'll try to add it to the layout. I know that this could have been a little sloppier in places, but I really did work hard on this, like really hard. This is probably the video I'm most proud of for all the effort I've put into it over the past 2 weeks. So don't forget to click the link in the description to see a higher quality look at the Terminus layout. You'll get to expand upon it in all its glory. Please consider leaving a like and comment just so I can feel like I didn't waste a massive bunch of time. If you stuck around till the end of the video, comment what you're most excited for from Black Ops 6 Zombies. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.